Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the KeithAndrewNetwork. This is episode 238. I'm here with the Incredibles, just like the superhero, the Incredibles.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
It's my pleasure, man. I've been at this for 23 years in the wrestling business. Three-time WWE contracted wrestler, been there for a long time. 8-time WWE Hardcore Champion, ECW World Heavyweight Champion, 2-time ECW Tag Team Champion, and I have a brand new action figure out too. So check that out at toyfigures.com. But that's some self-promotional stuff. But now I've been, just happy to be doing this with you, man.
No, absolutely.
And this young lady, go ahead.
My name is Jenna. It's my first podcast.
Congrats.
She's an aspiring musician. She's wonderful. She sings. She dances. She creates her own music. She's 12 years old. She's my little princess, and we're just happy to be part of the deal.
No, absolutely. So, like I said, you're supporting a good cause, making a new friend out of it. My theme of my show is uncensored, and that's freedom of speech, freedom of self-expression, so you can get up, walk around. If you're thirsty, go get some water. This is your time. Do whatever.
Cool.
And for people who want to know what the KeithAndrewNetwork is, it's basically my way of turning people... Let me rephrase that. My way of turning myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities.
Sure.
Just to never give up and just to prove to people that you can still out something. So I'm saying I'm handicapped, I have a disability, but I'm not using that as a weakness like I used to. I'm now turning that into a strength.
Right. And that's you know what, it's great that you said that, Keith, because since birth of my 9-year-old son Christian, who's actually in the house right now, but he's a little spaz. He likes to play, but he was born with a lot of physical disabilities. Mentally he's sharp as a whip, but physically he has certain handicap. I hate saying handicap, disabilities that he's working at, but it's very strong to my heart, and we always believed to treat him like anyone else. And he's a boss. I mean, he is a boss. He goes to school, he's high-fiving the kids, he's telling people what to do. This is a 9-year-old little guy, just just running the show. Not because it just shows that it's quite inspiring. He inspires me because he's so strong. And it's an amazing thing, and I always believe that through that comes your toughness. I believe he's tougher than a lot of kids because of what he has to have gone through and continues to go through, and he fights harder than a lot of the other kids to keep up, but that's cool, we don't treat him any different. He's one of the boys, and so be it, God bless him.
No, absolutely. And if you're okay with it, he's more than welcome to be on the show.
Yeah, he's downstairs playing right now. I wouldn't even know where to get him. I wouldn't want to interrupt the podcast, but he's balls to the wall, man. He's cool and almost too cool, But we've never again. I always believed, and I was told as well by professionals to not treat him differently. You're a human being. These are your challenges, and you have to overcome them. And he has, and he continues to, and will continue to through the rest of his life. But he's a boss. He's a good man. He's a good little guy. He's smart. And I'm so proud of that little guy. I mean, he's an amazing kid.
No, absolutely. Don't mind me. That's my nose. It's hot as hell outside. It's like almost 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's same over here. It's hot.
So if I do stuff with my hands or adjust my face, I'm not doing that to be an ass. I'm just saying it's hot out.
That's fine. No, it's we shut the air conditioner off so we could make it a clear, audio. So we're doing the same. It's hot over here too. It's like, where you at?
Oh, New York, near West Point, near Woodbury Commons.
We're in Jersey, Jersey Shore, Hazlitt. So we're not too far apart.
Not so bad. Maybe one day we can do a follow-up interview in person.
Absolutely. Love that.
Now, the first subject I'm going to talk to you, and you guys can answer it together. And then after a couple minutes, I'm going to pass the show over to you in a little bit. And he put you in the driver's seat, and you can ask me anything you want. But starting off, what can you tell us about your lives growing up?
Well, starting with me, I started as, blue collar, middle class, immigrant parents from Portugal descent. I was always a huge pro wrestling fan. And, my parents tried to do the right thing, I guess, by putting me in Catholic schools and, Catholic high schools, prep schools to go to college. And what do I decide to do is, I'm going off to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to become a pro wrestler, being trained by the Hart Brothers, the famous Hart Brothers that we all know from pro wrestling. And I was out there for 6 months, blood, sweat, and tears, starved, did the starving artist thing, where I would literally have to steal $1.65 Canadian to buy a gallon of chocolate milk, and that was my nourishment for the day. And that's true stuff, but I learned a lot, and I saw, you pay your dues in any business, whether it's what she's trying to do in the music business or what I still do in the wrestling business. You pay your dues, and I came back here to the States, to Connecticut, and I went to a show near my home in New Haven, Connecticut, which I'm sure you're familiar with, New Haven. There was an old, it's been gone for a while now, but it was the old New Haven Coliseum, and I went backstage to a WWE house show. And I simply introduced myself to a man called Tony Gurria. I don't know if you're familiar with Tony Gurria.
Oh, I heard. Okay, now I know who it is.
He was a tag team champion back in the old WWF, Vince Senior, and he was one of the bosses in the back, backstage guy. And he was very kind, let me in for free, in the backstage area. And he said to me, well, let me take your name down, We're starting a new show, and mind you, this is 1993. We're starting a new show called Monday Night Raw. And we're going to be taping it every 2 weeks in Manhattan. Are you interested? And I'm like, really, dude? Am I not interested? I'm interested. And that's how my relationship started. I started out as a jabron, just, putting people over on Raw, and became liked by the guys, by Vince. Like I have a relationship to this day with Vince McMahon, Steph. I've known Steph since she was 16 years old. Hunter. I was there before Hunter, So that's how the journey started for me,
No, absolutely. I had a couple of questions I'm going to ask you. Actually, I'm going to let both of you answer it, then I can ask my questions.
Sure.
But passing the show over to Jenna, what do you want to talk about? How would you like to answer the first subject?
Well, I like to talk about music a lot. Music is kind of my background. That's the really only thing that inspires me to do other things.
This is her first kind of exposure to media.
Right.
I'm not trying to talk for her, but she just is, she's multi-talented. She plays every instrument, sings, dances, extremely creative. And we're just, we're not pushing her to do anything. It's just kind of just the natural. We're not trying to make it a career. We're just trying to have her explore her creative side. And I think she's amazing. I mean, she's absolutely beautiful, if you can see. She's my little princess. And, Todd, tell her what's going on with you. It's not about me.
Well, I'm really inspired by a different artist that I'm not sure I want to get too into her, but Dad knows. Melanie Martinez. She inspires me a lot by the thing about music is it has to be related. It has to have some lyric that goes into your life or that gives you an emotion that touches you in a way or inspires you to go on and make your own career. Like that's what she kind of does for me. So I'm kind of a fangirl.
Well, that's actually really, it's amazing what she just said, and I'm surprised she even said it, because I'm a musician, amateur, of course. I'm friends with Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins, Jared Leto, 30 Seconds to Mars. And, of course I'm not a professional player, but it's so true how music affects. And it's what affected ECW, too. Because we expressed ourselves through the music. It was almost like MTV meets hardcore wrestling. And it really popped. And I think that's what's missing in today's product, in today's universe. And it's what she said about the meaning. Because music is so, you could play a song that'll bring me to tears in 5 seconds. And I'm still like that to this day. I'm a fanboy too. I'm a comic book guy. I'm a video game guy. I'm a Star Wars guy. I love all that stuff. But music has a certain place in your heart that I think, Prince, for example, the passing of Prince. I can't believe, 57 years old. I literally, when I was a kid, I was an 80s kid. I literally called Minneapolis, Minnesota directory, like 411, to find out where Paisley Park was. And I actually, on my Twitter feed, at PJ Polacco, I have a picture of me and Billy Corgan in front of First Avenue where they taped the movie Purple Rain. Because, but I wanted, as a kid, I wanted to go just to see where it was done, that's the kind of adventurous person I was, and music is to me is as powerful, and I think wrestling and music, unfortunately, WWE, ECW got away with murder.
Yeah,
didn't have to pay any rights to the artist, which it's kind of bullshit, but whatever. Because I get it. I know a lot of powerful musicians, Academy Award, Grammy Award-winning musicians who, would like those rights. But I think if Vince McMahon would pay rights to certain songs, it adds so much to the culture of what's going on today that grabs the emotion from the fan instead of that generic. You know what I'm saying, like that, whatever. It all sounds the same. Go through my history. Listen to all my WWE music. I had 3 different songs. The only one that was original was Uncle Kracker, because I was friends with Kid Rock. His name is Bob. Bob let me use Cracker's music, and Matt's his real name. His brother was my manager, and he's like, "Yeah, we're trying to promote his album. Used that song for X Factor in 2001. We used, what you looking at, and it was just so different. A lot of people didn't like it, but that was the point. You're not supposed to like it. We're heels. Me and X-Pac were bad guys. But it's so different when you're using different people's music. But of course, it comes at a price because you're paying money on that, and they rather have their generic musicians make up a generic song. But I think that really kills the culture of what's cool in society, because that's the thing that's about my business, not her business, but my business, is wrestling has become so uncool because we're so not into what society is into as a product as a whole. And really, they're the only game in town. TNA, I talked to Dixie Carter, they're a joke. You know, I know Billy's over there trying to do the best he can, and they've been doing some decent stuff, but they're a joke. So Vince is the only game in town, you know? So it is what it is, you know?
Well, I don't know if you heard me, but I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. But I said, why do you say that? Number one. And number two, I know I'm handicapped, I have a disability, but I have some great ideas for TNA. I tried to get a hold of Dixie Carter. After the show, I do have some ideas for you, if you don't mind. But I tried to get a hold of Dixie Carter, and some of my great ideas can really turn TNA around and turn it into a competition. But I'm going to ask you is, you mentioned something, and I said, why did you say that?
I'm sorry?
You mentioned something, and I said, why did you say that? But I just actually forgot what we were talking about.
Well, no, Dixie, I think right now is at a point where she's way in over her head. You know, I asked her, quite frankly, because I retired for my in-ring stuff in November, I guess, of last year. My last match was against Tommy Dreamer over here for Pro Wrestling Syndicate in Rahway, New Jersey. And the reason I did that was I just felt no opportunity. So I called Dixie up, and she, you know, she answered, and we talked. And I was like, you know, I have a unique perspective on the business because I'm one of the last people that is from the old school to the new, that connects to the new school. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
And she was like, oh yeah, of course. And I've worked for TNA for many years. You know, I was there in the early days. I was there in the, you know, when they had the 6-sided ring. I did the whole thing. And her response was, yeah, talk to Big John, the guy who used to produce WWE stuff and now produces their stuff. And I was like, well, Dixie, you're full of shit. You have no fucking intention of doing shit. So fuck you, fuck your company. And that's what the fans feel. Because the fans don't trust. As good as, and you know what? They're actually putting out good stuff now. They've put out some really good stuff. But I feel that fans don't trust them. I wouldn't pay $5. It's amazing. You could have a stacked card of TNA talent at an arena here in this area, and then you could have an indie talent and maybe 1 or 2 stars here, and it'll sell more tickets than TNA. Fans just don't trust TNA. They don't, and that's Dixie Carter's fault, and that's a shame because we need a real competitive number 2 to Vince McMahon, or else it does become a monopoly. And unfortunately, great minds. I'm calling myself a great mind, but there's a lot of great. Tommy Dreamer, unemployed. Raven, unemployed. I'm not saying to be active wrestlers, but booking, producing, whatever you call it these days, whatever these kids call it these days. So many good guys that have years of experience. X-Pac doesn't have a job. Really? You know, so I think we have a lot of ways to go. The business is going to make a huge change because Raw's numbers are sliding to a time low. And something's going to be done soon. So, anyways, I throw it back at you, Mother.
No, absolutely. Now, I would love to have Eric Bischoff on the show.
Oh, Eric, me too, man. You know, but Eric was very lucky because he was a very smart guy came from AWA. And, you know, Ted Turner, man, you don't get it, man. Working for TBS was like giving yourself a checkbook with unlimited money. And, you know, just hiring your buddies. when I first, before I went to ECW in '97, my wife told me, "You got to stop this." Because I was coming into my own as a worker at 24 as Aldo, and she's like, "You're too good for this." And I told Vince. I went in. I had a meeting with Vince at Titan Towers, and I said, "Look, dude, I want out. I had a couple more years left in my contract. I want out of your federation." And they're WWE, right? And he goes, "Well, I can't have you go to WCW," because Kevin and Scott were there. And that's when the whole NWO thing was blowing up. And they're like, "Yeah, dude, we'll give you a sweet job, sweet guarantee, and an open checkbook." And Vince wouldn't allow me to do that. So he sent me over to Paul, which was fine too. I mean, I'm quite happy with the career I had. But that's that. It's just a shame. And Bischoff now is doing bigger and better things anyways, because he doesn't see any potential in pro wrestling.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I'm going to ask you is, who influenced you to become a wrestler? How can you sum up your career from beginning to end? And I talked to Double J Jet Jarrett on my show, and I don't know how you're going to react to this, but I kind of use profanity towards ECW. And I really dislike ECW. And the reason I say that, it's basically garbage wrestling. And don't get me wrong, there's some great wrestlers that came from ECW. You, Tommy Dreamer, Raven, Rhino. I love you guys. You guys are great. What pissed me off about ECW and why I freaking hate it so much is every single match, someone was being lit on fire. Someone was going for the ring. Someone was doing this. Someone was doing that. And it was like, okay, you want to be different. And Jet Jarrett says Paul Heyman got it from New Japan Pro Wrestling. You guys want to do something different, that's fine. You want to do blood, that's fine. You want to do something bizarre, that's fine. But the same stupid thing over and over and over, it kind of got to me. It's like, what is this?
Well, the thing was, when I was there, it really started to heat up in '95 with the Raven Dreamer feud. I was not there yet. I came in at the end of mid '97, but the fans expected it, and I never bled. I bled maybe once or twice in the entire history. The first time I ever bled ever in my career was Anarchy Rules in Chicago against Cebu. And it was such a big deal. My father-in-law, who was passed, God rest his soul, called my wife, who worked for the company as the merch girl. It's like, because she was watching on pay-per-view, is he okay? Is he okay? It's like, no, he's cool. It was a work. Because I didn't do it all the time. But right. Things just, it's like anything else. When you get caught in that trap of, how do you top, how many stupid chair shots are you going to take? How many tables are you going to break? How many Terry, I'll tell you, talk to Terry Funk, man. I saw him, I'll tell you what, Terry's 72 years old, his birthday was last week, and I saw him last week, and, those years are some of the fondest years he's had, because we weren't doing, it wasn't always right, but we were trying to innovate, and in some ways, inspire the Attitude Era kind of gimmick. Because wrestling at that time was so bland. When I was in WWE, I was Aldo Montoya. I was wearing a jockstrap on my face. I was wrestling guys like the Mantar, like Sparky Plug, Bob Holly. Other guys. I can go on and on with the shitty gimmicks. So, but the day demanded it. The fans, you screwed up a spot. It's like they were in on the joke. They were in on the performance. They knew. It's like, you fucked up. You fucked up. Or, you still suck. Or whatever. So you really had to set the bar high to what you felt your audience, whatever it may have been at the time, was expecting of you. So it's no different than being a cult show, a show where, I don't know, it was just different. It was a time in history, man, that'll never be duplicated. It'll never happen again. And I understand what you're saying. I get it. And at the time, sometimes it was too much. How do you think I felt? Balls Mahoney and the Dudley, Balls and Axel, God rest both their souls, and the Dudleys would go on first match, beat the shit out of each other, bleed all over the place, and then, oh, by the way, 3 hours later, I got to go out and main event against Jerry Lynn and have a wrestling match. So, I felt that pressure too. But what Paul's thing was, he told me, well, if you're not good enough to go on last and have that kick-ass match, well, then you don't belong with the title and you don't belong on top. So it was different. It was special. It was special, man. I tell you, nothing will ever be done like that again.
No, absolutely. I didn't mean to piss you off by it.
No, you didn't. Not at all.
Now, the next question I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked in Judge Jarrett. And then, basically what we're doing now, it's what I was supposed to be doing with Double J, but the PR people didn't tell me it was video. I didn't want to ruin the opportunity. I said, okay, fine, I will talk to you over the phone.
Right.
So we did a phone interview. It's on YouTube. You can see it, but this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
But one of the questions I asked him, but I want your opinion on, is do you think ECW killed wrestling, number one? And what I mean by killed wrestling, as in, yes, Paul Heyman started something with the hardcore revolution, but then WWF copied it, and then WCW copied it, and everyone's doing the whole stupid thing. Do you think that, because from, late 97 to about 2001, everyone's doing the same thing.
Right.
So with the repetition, do you think it hurt the business? Jarrett said it helped the business, and maybe it did because, it's different.
It helped and it hurt. It helped because wrestling, we didn't start something new. If fans really want to go back, into Terry Funk in the Amarillo, Texas territory, his dad's territory, and Memphis, Tennessee with Jerry Lawler. They were doing tables. Randy Savage, before he ever went to WWF, was doing like that kind of stuff. It was done before. And I think what had happened was wrestling had become so cartoonish at the time, with both WCW and the WWF at the time, that it was refreshing. It was like fans wanted real wrestling. And FMW in Japan was getting very popular by doing ridiculous stunts. Stuff we never experimented with, like explosives and stuff. I don't like that at all. But, look, man, you're always in any business, in music business with her, in the wrestling business with me, you're throwing darts at a dartboard and hoping that it hits. And I think, unfortunately, there are so many great minds out there, and wrestling is so convoluted to a couple of people, to Steph, Hunter, Vince, Dixie, which I still don't get, and that's really it. The Ring of Honor doesn't even exist in my mind, because I don't even know who runs Ring of Honor. There's not one old school cat with more than, I have more experience in this finger than any of those guys have in their whole bodies. Not saying they don't do great work, and they kill themselves. That's the problem. I'm 42. I'm still walking tall. I can still go out there and rock it if I wanted to. These kids, I had one kid come up to me when I worked for ROH when Feinstein and Gabe Sapolsky owned it. said, "I don't know what to do, Justin. I'm 19 years old. I could barely walk." I'm like, "You're 19?" It's like, "Dude, and you can barely walk? This shit's fake, dude. Who you trying? You gotta learn. It's a war, but that's the thing is they're their own entity. I don't even know. Apparently, they're and I'm going to go out on the line with this because this pissed me off, and I've said this to Wade Keller, Dave Meltzer, Jason Powell. The booker for ROH is this guy Delirious. Apparently, he is a fucking drug addict, piece of shit. And I'm a recovering drug addict, almost 4 years in November. 4 years in November recovery.
Congrats.
And that's it. And I wrote him a polite email of, "I would love to help your company. Don't need anything guaranteed. Just bring me in. Not to wrestle. I'm not saying I could compete with your young boys flipping around the ring. Just to help. Because believe me, dude, I know where the bodies are buried in Stamford. I literally know there's shit I know from Shane, from Pat Patterson, from Vince, that these kids will never know. I can help you." And they didn't even respond me back. That's what insulted me. They could have said, "No, not interested." That's okay. Okay, you're not interested. That's fine. But not even to fucking respond to me?
No, get fired up. That's what we love.
It pissed me off, man. Pissed me off.
No, absolutely. Now, when Ring of Honor, I was so happy when Ring of Honor went on TV on Destination America. And that first episode, it was fucking, it's like, what am I watching? It was, okay, good introduction. It was really good. And the graphics are like, what is this? This is not 1984. And it was so bad.
So lame,
funny.
Dude. And they come from a television. They're owned by a television company. Which is even worse. I respect all the guys that work there. I'm friends with the Briscoes. Jay Lethal, I'm very good friends with. I know his family, him and his family, wonderful people. But the company themselves, they have no idea what they're fucking doing. It's a shit show. And that's the problem with this business is somebody needs the balls of a Paul Heyman to do some... See what I'm saying, though?
Yes.
We're at that point again now. Remember, we're talking shit broke out in 97, It's been 10, 11 years now where shit needs to break out again. And we need to say, hey, this is not what we want. We want this. Daniel Bryan had it. Unfortunately, I knew Bryan Danielson. I was there. I slept at Shawn Michaels' house. And I went there. If you look it up in the internet, I wrestled 2 shows for Shawn for his Texas Wrestling Alliance in '99 when he retired and he started his training school and his wrestling academy and his federation. And I went there and worked with them. And, we need to bring it back to what it is. I hate sports. I hate the term sports entertainment. I'm a professional wrestler. I'll always be a professional wrestler. And, and I think now, I don't know what the solution is, mind you. I can't tell you what the solution is. But I know that the time has come for something different. Don't know what it is.
No, that's another thing, and I even said that to Vince Russo. Well, 2 things. And the first one is Raw and SmackDown need to be different, number one. Number 2, they have to go back to 2 hours. They need better announcers and the ring. And if you're having the same stupid ring on Raw and SmackDown, I even left a comment on it on Facebook saying when they came back was a red, white, and blue ring. I was so excited to see it because that's the ring I grew up watching.
Me too.
It's like by having the same sober ring for Raw and Smack. It's like watching the same show. Bring back the red ring for Raw. Bring back the blue ring. Or, do the different themes. And it's kind of...
I swear to God, I would do SmackDown have guardrails and have no mats on the floor. I worked for years with no mats. Believe me, mats hurt just as much as the floor. Mats don't help that much. Believe me, I've taken enough bumps to know. NXT, NXT is better than SmackDown, is better than Raw.
Absolutely, no question about that.
But they'll never get rid of the 3-hour Raw. Why?
Well, personally, I know that after saying this, they probably won't let me work for WWE. But 3 hours of Stephanie, 3 hours of Triple H and John Cena? This is what I said to Vince Russo, and I stand by it. Hour number 1, you want 3 hours? Fine. I'll break it down like this. Hour number 1, cruiserweights. Hour number 2, mid-carders. Or have the women. And season 3. And number 3, have the main eventers. Have, different sections.
Right.
That's what made WCW great.
I agree, but I also believe, too, that the network is killing the business. In a way, and I'm going to get to her deal, too, right now, and my friend's deal in music, is we were not prepared for the internet age to have the accessibility of 24-hour on-demand free content. Okay, I'm not talking about the $9.99 for the network. That does hurt too for ratings and so forth. 30 Seconds to Mars, which is my favorite band, have their fucking thing tattooed on my arm. Jared Leto, who's playing the new Joker in Suicide Squad, is the guy who sings, and he's amazing, and his brother's the drummer. And they've recorded 4 albums over 10 years. Multi-platinum. They tour immensely. And they owe the record company millions and millions of dollars. Now, think about that. They've sold millions of records, but owe the record company millions of dollars. We're not selling those. Even my royalty checks. I just got a royalty check from WWE from the stuff that I've been on. Because you get paid for that. I still get paid a check every quarter for DVDs. Nobody's buying DVDs. Nobody's buying CDs. I still do because I like the packaging and the stuff like that. But it's an artistic problem. And I think we need to figure out a way to distribute it where it's fair to the artist and fair to the performer, which means, I'm not a real wrestler. I'm a performer. I'm not Brock Lesnar. I'm a pro wrestler. You ain't gonna see me at UFC 200. Don't worry about it. But you know what I mean? And my royalty checks it went from 4, 5, 6 figures to $50, $60, if I'm lucky. Why? Well, we're getting the internet. We're not ready for distribution. And then this goes back to, and I'm going to throw it at because of her, into the music business. It took iTunes, which is a computer company, to figure out a way to distribute music where Warner Brothers, all those other famous record labels, did not. And they're the number 1 retailer above Walmart to selling music. These guys work years on their craft to put out an album. And they work their asses off to create this stuff. And I'm a musician at heart. And they're not getting paid for their work. How could you sell 3, 4, 5 million albums and owe the record company money? But that's the way it's set up, and that's how the wrestling business is set up. It's like we're the marks. in the game. And they're always the pimps. You know, we're the pimps, they're the fucking... Or no, they're the pimps, we're the fucking hoes. You know? Anyways, I digress. I quit. But that's how it is, man.
No, absolutely. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to pass the show over to you guys, and you can ask me anything you want.
Sure.
And
I want to get her involved.
No, absolutely. I'm going to ask you a couple names, and I want your honest opinion. That's number one. But you didn't mention some of the skeletons buried. Are you at liberty to discuss some of those stories, or you want to get yourself into trouble?
I will one day write a book. Put it that way. But I know of shady deals, of backdoor cash money, briefcase, for real briefcase, full of money, threat. Yeah, I know a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. I know, again, it's a joke. We say it as a joke. I hate when the kids do this. Because they don't know what this is.
Yeah.
You know? I was part of okay, we did that. We were doing that. Now everybody thinks, that's cool again or whatever. That meant something. And I'll tell you the story where this came from. Wasn't even us that created it at all. It was Bret Hart. We were in Germany on a 30-day tour in 1995, 96, and we were at a bar, a seedy bar in Germany, 25 days in. We're all fucking exhausted, just drinking some cold ones, trying to relax. And he met up with some German mafioso guys that were fans of Bret's, not of us. It's me. I'm talking me, Scott, Kid, Kev, HBK. Hunter wasn't even there at the time. And the story was, they told Bret the story about what this meant.
Right.
And it was a German symbol for, the wolf pack, mafioso thing. It was a mafia thing over there. And they, and then, we heard the story from Bret, and we're like, oh, wow, that's cool as shit. So, then we're like, we're all, it was we're just messing around. But kids don't even know where that comes from. So I love the Young Bucks, whatever, but I hate that everybody's doing this shit, dude. It's like, you know what? I never threw that up. If you find one tape of me in ECW doing this, I'll pay you $1,000 right now. I never did it. I never wanted to prostitute it because it was something special. And all these kids, fuck you. You don't know fuck what that means. You weren't there, dude. I was there. We lived it. We breathed it.
But the reason people like it and why I do it, it's because...
It's cool to do, but, it's like it got prostituted from the original meaning. I never did it. I never went, because I felt like I was, being a bitch, like a player. I'm not trying to play nobody. We know what this means. We did it to ourselves. That was our thing. We did, we didn't do it to, now the kids are ripping it off, and it's like, fuck it, just get angry.
Well, Jenna did it pretty well. Did a Wolfpack sign, and that's well on the
Wolfpack. She's family. she knows the boys. They all held her.
But that's why I do it, because of the NWO. So I didn't. Now it's Germans, kind of like, well, I'm Jewish.
No, but that's cool. No, it wasn't a negative thing though. But it was just like it was. They don't know the story behind it. They don't know why they do it, and it probably got prostituted by the NWO and by WCW, and it became corporate. But really, that was the whole meaning. It was nothing we created. It was just a cool-ass, legendary story that was told in some seedy-ass bar with 5 or 6 guys in there, and they told us that story. And then we were like, wow, woke up the next morning. That was a pretty cool story. So we just started doing it. That's all it was. It wasn't like a marketability thing. It was just like, let's start messing around, But the kids don't know, And that's what I hate is I have more, I have more knowledge in my one pinky than these kids have in their whole bodies. I may not be able to perform at the level I did 10 years ago. That's cool. I'm fat as fuck. I'm a little older. I'm not old, just older. Bon Jovi song, by the way. Great song. Crush 2000. But anyways, I believe that the right people can still run this world of pro wrestling and make it rock.
No,
and I'm surprised Billy Corgan ain't doing it. Because Billy's a good friend of mine. I saw Billy. He was here with Marilyn Manson. They sold out a 20,000 seat arena that I was blessed enough to be on stage with Billy for, and and he's creative now at TNA. But dude, I was like, it's the politics. He knows what's right. He's a smart guy. If you're a Grammy Award-winning artist, and have albums that will be on hard rock radio stations for the rest of your life, you did something right. So why can't you book TNA? Because he has people that won't let him do what he wants.
No, absolutely. Now I'm going to ask you a couple of names, and I promise I'll pass the show back to you guys.
No, give it to me.
And I want you to be completely honest with the people.
I'm right now in the mood. Go for it.
Nice assholes, because I met a couple of ECW people who are really nice, and you guys are one of them. And there are a couple that are real pieces of shit. If it gave me a hard time, it's my disability and my talk. So that's, I can tell you off the air.
Quite frankly, I couldn't tell if you had any disability.
No.
I hide it pretty well.
I couldn't tell. I don't even know if you have a disability.
I'm pretty much like you, except I learn at a slower pace.
I gotcha.
The tip of the iceberg. But still.
Very cool. No, that's cool. That's cool.
But, like I said, I met a lot of nice people like you guys, and a lot of people who ripped in me for having a disability. I can tell you that some other time. But starting off with a couple of names is, you mentioned the Hart brothers, and so you mean Brett and Owen, right?
Right.
Now, was everything that happened was Owen Hart? And actually, before I get started, do you think you're going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, number one? And do you think Owen Hart should be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Do I think I will be?
Yes.
Oh, hell no. Hell no. No. I would be honored. You know what? I'll make this quick because we're on a topic of people. So I'll make this quick. I recently, and she was with me, I went to the old ECW arena.
Oh, yeah.
That was a shit house. They had one toilet that didn't flush. It was a garbage. It was a big. I mean, it was the worst place you could imagine. And we put 3,000 people with a shoehorn in there. Now it is flat screen multimedia facility. It's a legitimate arena with restaurants and a beautiful establishment. And I was like, and I told her, because she never realized it, she's too young. Like, Jenna, we made this place on our backs, on our blood. My scars right here, on our blood. We made this place what it is. So the Brett and Owen thing. Owen was great. Brett he was a lone wolf. If anybody was this, which makes no sense in the rest for fans, but that meant lone wolf. That's what it meant to the Germans. And he was a lone wolf. He's just his own person, and he took it very seriously. And he was very good at what he did, and he never disrespected me, and his family trained me. So, But Owen was special to me. He was a very sweet man. Wonderful man, Diana, Davy Boy, his Davey Boy's wife, Diana, who was a Hart, Harry Jr., who I still speak to today. Just amazing. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame. There's so much history in wrestling that is lost that we as fans, even with all this technology and internet, just don't put over. It's crazy, but whatever. Sometimes too much info is too much info.
Right.
There's no curiosity. You know everybody's everything. You know what time I went to the bathroom. You know, for example, I miss the days of wrestling magazines where I had to wait to see what was on the next week's cover. We get shit too quick. We're disposable. You know, talking about disposable. Everything was disposable in a second. You could have a pop song that'll go number one, and then you'll never be heard. You know, I mean, that's no different. I mean, one-hit wonders happen all the time, but I mean, it's just, you know, everything is so disposable. And I miss print. You know, I miss magazines, because magazines, what got me into wrestling was going into it, and I told Bill after this, because I'm very good friends with Bill, and he wrote a long piece on me for his magazine, is going into a grocery store and seeing Abdullah the Butcher, you know, forking some guy. And you know it's at work. You know, that's probably like, okay, sit down on the floor. I'm going to pretend I'm giving you a fork to the forehead. You sell it. We'll take the shot. Boom. On the, you know, put it on the front cover. But as a kid watching that, it's like, oh my God, this is really happening. You know? That mystery, that allure has gone. But anyways, talk to me about other guys so we don't get off track. Because I get off track real quick.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Let's see. A lot of people make fun of me for this, but as a human being, and you may know where I'm going with this, as a human being, I really don't know what to say about him. But as a professional wrestler, without question, he will always be one of the best technical technicians ever. What do you feel about Chris Benoit?
Oh, he was one of the greatest of all time. I knew Chris and Nancy. Chris and Nancy held my firstborn son Nicholas at WrestleMania 17 because my wife just got off a long flight. I was there before her. She flew in because Pac and I were the opening match at Mania 17. And Chris and Nancy held him and helped my wife clean him up because he was starting to get sick from being on a plane. He was a baby, 6, 7, 8 months. I don't fault Chris. I don't fault anything. I think Chris was a good man. I think, look, man, you know what? The real truth is, and I'll probably get crucified for it, but shit happens. I don't know what happened in their lives. I know that CTE studies from Chris Nowinski's organization, and I also donated my brain when I die to that study of concussion syndrome. Chris Benoit had the brain of like a 75, 80-year-old man. I worked with Chris in the ring. He was a sweetheart. You know, other than his chops, you know, in the corner, he'd barely touch you. He'd hurt himself rather than hurt you. I have no... Of course, what he did is
no excuses.
You can't forgive it, but I don't know. And look, dude, has there been times I've been in heated arguments with my wife? Yeah. Yes. Yes. But I would never, you know. But I don't know. I would. Look, I think we have to. I think it's a sports issue. I think it's more education on what concussions can do. Because back in those days, I literally, and I was telling this story, it's amazing you're talking about this, because I was telling this story downstairs before I got on with you at the dinner table. I got a horrible concussion Thursday night in Buffalo, New York. Paulie gave me Friday night off. Keith.
Yep, I'm here.
Sorry, somebody was actually calling me from Stanford, probably Vince. Seriously, I swear to God, somebody's calling me from Stanford. But anyways, long story short, he gave me Friday off, knowing how bad my concussion was, and I had to wrestle on Saturday at the arena in a 2 out of 3 falls 30-minute match. And my wife couldn't drive stick shift. I drove, and there was some convention around town, so I couldn't get a hotel room. So every 10 to 15 miles, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
I had to pull over, throw up, lay my head down for a minute, drive some more, pull over some more, puke some more. So that's permanent brain damage. Right. And I also, on tape, have a match. It's on the WWE Network, which they should fucking take it off there because I could sue their asses. I got knocked out by you remember the original SST, the head shrinkers?
Yes.
The two Samoans, Fatu's kid, Fatu and the other one.
Oh, man.
They knocked me out so cold that they literally pulled my dead limp body, tagged the other cat in to do the finish. All I remember is somehow I had a car. I was in Manhattan. I got paid and everything. I woke up in my bed the next day. How I got there, I don't know. But think about that. You're traveling through New York City, which is very dangerous and crazy. And I'm a young kid, 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. And not realizing how you get home. Like, back then it was like, that's why I laugh at some of these kids today. There was so much irresponsibility back then. I will never sue the WWE because that's not my style. I'll save it all for a book or something. I'll never be one of those, guys that, whatever. I'm not looking for a free ride, but anyways, more names. Hit me quick because I got to go.
Hey, well, we did do the names. I promised I was going to pass the show over back to you. Was there any...
I want her to talk about something.
That's fine.
Talk about something. All right, here's real quick. What's your Twitter handle? JP Music. Really? Yeah. At JP Music. She's a young musician. She sings, she dances, she writes her own music, plays guitar, plays piano, drums. I mean, she's absolutely amazing. This child is amazing. And she's my pride and joy. I love her so much, and she's so awesome. I think she's going to be huge someday, God willing, and God bless. And just happy to be here, man, and do this with you. And thank you for the opportunity. And it was just really cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, stay with us after we wrap up the interview segment. I do have a couple questions for you. But wrapping up, what was your honest opinion when I first approached you about my talk show, and how do you feel now?
I felt good about it the whole time.
Me too.
Yeah, it was cool. I was right with you. I thought it was a cool opportunity. I don't take much of these. I don't do many of these because I get hit up for these things 24/7. So I pick and choose very rarely who I do. Not that it's a big deal, or whatever, but I just found a very kind sincereness in your request, and I was like, yeah, let's do this, man.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it. Now, wrapping up the interview segment, I just want to say it's an honor and privilege having both of you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to building a friendship with both of you.
Absolutely. Jenna Polacco, check her out. That's not just the coolest. That's not just the best. You know the tagline. That's just incredible. Peace out, brother.